Now, to learn more about this unique program and its hosts, tune into the show on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
The Pet Buzz, Saturday mornings, 8 to 9 a.m.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Here come the jesters, 1, 2, 3. It's all part of my fantasy. I love the music and I love to see the crowd dancing in the aisles and singing out loud. Yeah.
Hey everybody, ISEE Radio here with Brandy Joy, my sidekick. But I never kick her in the side.
Yeah, just right in the gut.
Well, thank you guys for all your prayers last week. I was in the hospital. I did it remotely because, I'm old school and the show must go on.
Yes.
And I was in my hospital bed on the phone with Brandy. Brandy was at the console. So thank you, Brandy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
Yeah, that was
worthy.
Determination.
We had a good time. And people
plugged up to all these machines. He's like, I'm calling in.
I'm done. I don't care. I beat one of the IVs in my arm was a microphone. So it was really cool.
It's because we love our listeners. You did this just for them.
Modern science, yeah. So we're brought to you by One Unit, our producer Joe Rieger, and as well Cap Studios, my company, where we do film, television, documentaries, and short film subjects. And we bring in ISEE Radio, which Joe came up with it. It's called Ian Stevens Exclusive Entertainment. So we basically are going to talk about entertainment, 24-hour entertainment all the time. And we've got a bunch of different topics. But I wanted to give homage to Mick Rouse, who we just heard Bad Company play. He was the lead guitarist for Bad Company, and he passed away yesterday.
Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah, and he also, before he joined Bad Company in the late 60s, early 70s, he was in a group called Mott the Hoople with lead singer Ian Hunter. And I had a relationship with that because as a kid, Ian was not a usual name.
I've not heard of another Ian except my cousin until I came to Florida. And then I said it while my cousin was here. And next, everyone's name's Ian.
I just say, or they pronounce
just the best people.
Or they like Ian Zero against that boy. His parents were stupid. They call him Ian, but I'm not going to get into that whole situation. Anyway, so no, he's just such an incredible guitarist. And Mott the Hoople had that great song called All the Young Dudes, which was really popular in the early 70s. And it's kind of look at that. Excellent. Thank you, Avery. Thank you. Let's keep that going while we're talking. It's a great song as a backdrop. And listening to Mick Rouse play the guitar, he just rocked it. And I believe he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well with Bad Company. So anyway, we're missing another great one. I mean, gosh, they always say they die in threes. There was Mick Rouse, obviously Brian Wilson. I know there's a third one that had passed away, I think this last week as well. I forget who it was, but
I just Googled Bad Company top facts. And so, of course, AI generates a nice overview. It says Bad Company was a British rock supergroup formed in 1973, known for their blues rock sound and their hits like Can't Get Enough and Feel Like Making Love.
Can't get enough of your. Of course, that was all Mick Rouse, lead guitar, and along with, in my opinion, one of the best rock and roll male voices on the history of the planet, Mr. Paul Rodgers. He was in a group before Bad Company in the late 60s called Them. Okay. And they did a song, I'm sure you've heard, All Right Now, Baby, it's all right now. Yes. That was his group, but Mick was with Mott the Hoople, and then they both quit their bands and they formed Bad Company, which was considered a super group. They were super big when I was in high school back in the 70s, and they rocked it out, man. Those guys were so hot.
Yeah, it says they were the first band signed to Led Zeppelin's Swan Song label.
That's right.
Look at you.
That's right, baby. Hey, mama, say the way you move, gonna make it swag, gonna make you groove.
Oh, man.
I got people probably listening to the radio turning me down now. I'm trying to do my Jimmy Page guitar impersonation.
Oh,
way down inside.
You do karaoke?
I'll do all the time. Well, not all the time, but I can do karaoke.
Where do you do karaoke in the Tampa Bay area?
I've done it a couple times in Tarpon Springs at some of their local joints, like Snappers. They have a place that they do, and then oh gosh,
I did stand-up comedy at Snappers.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
How's it going? Well, Are you going to be at this thing this Saturday night?
Yes, I am.
Can you plug that real quick? Because
Yeah,
Joe
I'll do
wanted
a
to make
nice
sure we
plug.
covered that for
Yeah,
this Saturday.
So,
So if you guys have some time off on Saturday and you want to laugh your heinies off,
yes.
this is a place to be in Riverview, which is a nice community. It's kind of an offbeat from Tampa, but it's on the east side of the bay, and it's where the Carneys live. All the people that formulate Gibsonton and Riverview. If you drive by a lot of the houses, you see equipment in the backyards, and it's usually like a roller coaster or Ferris wheel. And that's the town of the Carney land of Riverview. So
I mean, generally everything in the Tampa Bay area is 30 minutes to an hour tops. I mean, what's an hour away? Hour away from St. Pete would be Newport Richie.
Well, and me being and me being from LA, I mean, you know that if you're even going 15, 20 miles. Yeah. I mean, I lived in Pasadena. I worked at Universal Studios, and that was 20 miles away. Yeah. It took me an hour and a half.
Yes.
To get there. And just after Angie and I and the kids moved here to Florida in 2009, the subway system was in place. I thought, dang it. If we lived in Pasadena, I could take the blue line down to downtown LA and then get on the red line, go up and get off at Lancashire and take the big, long, I think it's like one of the longest what's called escalators up to the top of the hill to my office. That would have been perfect. I would never have to drive in LA. And literally where we lived was right around the corner from the depot of the metro that fed in as the spider webs of all of Los Angeles.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled here in the Tampa Bay area. You know, if we have to drive somewhere 30 minutes, we're like, oh my gosh, it's so far away. Like I'm rolling my eyes for those of you who can't see. We're so fortunate.
I think are we doing a live feed on Facebook?
No, I don't.
But if you want to listen,
I think so.
For those of you that are listening to us and want to see us in real time, go to YouTube and go under ISEE Radio. That stands for yours truly. And we are in real time. And that's global. That's all over the United States. And I understand in Europe as well. So, and these are also archived. So if you happen to be listening and you want to see us down the road, or knowing that they are archived under YouTube, you can watch us later on when you get home from work, especially the guys on the West Coast, because it's only 4 o'clock. So you guys are still dredging away the last hour, going, I can't wait for it.
I like rewatching the videos. I go on YouTube, and if you could go on YouTube, subscribe, and also on social media. So we got the 1 units and whatnot. So you could find us on social media. You can even find me on my own page, Brandy Joy.
Yeah, you are, and you bring such joy in with me. Yeah, I'm under Cap Studios.
Joy's my middle name.
I'm under Cap Studios, Florida.com, where you can see everything that Cap Studios is doing. And we've got some great things I'm going to mention in just a few moments. But I wanted to go back to what you were mentioning, because we do have a subscribe.
Let me hurry up and plug that in. I appreciate that.
Please. We're just a plug for this Saturday night. It is, Brandy.
Yes, thank you. So 1 unit, they host the King of the Ring tournament. And so what we're doing, King of the Ring is pretty much where there's different performances. So generally right now we're mostly focused on comedy. Okay. And of course I'm a local stand-up comedian. Did you know I had auditioned?
Local?
I'm local. I'm located here in the St. Petersburg
area.
I
thought you said local, like crazy Spanish. I thought you were trying to be,
I'm a
bilingual.
Local. Yes.
Okay. And you're doing what? I'm sorry, you were saying?
Yeah. So it's called the Mansion Throwdown, and it's actually going to take place in a mansion. Everyone's invited. The public's invited.
A mansion?
A mansion. A beautiful mansion in Riverview.
Wow. Jake Clampa going to be there?
Perhaps. You never know.
No Jeff or Bodine.
But yeah, so you can get more information online on our social media page. Again, you can find it under mine, Brandy Joy Thomas, comedian, or you go to 1 unit.
And Joe Rieger.
Joseph Rieger. Yeah, it's under 1 unit. And so the Mansion Throwdown is what it's called.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be in Riverview.
I'm going to be there.
Real quick.
I'm coming.
11910 Climbing Fern Avenue.
Say that again.
11910 Climbing Fern Avenue.
Wait a sec. I got to get a pen. What is that address again? One more time.
It is 11910 Climbing Fern Avenue in Riverview. And it's a free show.
I stubbed my toe. I still didn't get a pen. What's that address again?
Here, how about this? If you need to know the address, feel free to give us a call. Call us right into the studio. And we'd love to hear from you and say hi anyways. 727-441-3000. And of course, you can call us toll free.
Yes.
1-866-826-1340.
Toll free, baby. Because I know people in California, I don't want to call 727 because if I do, it's going to cost me money.
Back in the day, it's all
just
free.
call toll free at 1-866-826-1340.
Yeah.
And you hear me and my daughter Brandy and calling in. We'd like to hear what's going on.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you tell us what's going on. I see you got some notes.
I got some notes. Yeah, I got some notes. Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's all Ebonics, so I don't know if you can play
it
since you have, in the ethnic group of the Ebonic thing. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
chicken scratch.
This is faux show.
All
Whatever
right.
that
So what
means.
you got for us?
Well, I got lots of stuff happening. We first, I just want to kind of tap back what Brandy just said a moment ago about our subscription. So when you go onto YouTube, or you see that there is a subscription button on there, and we would love it if you guys would subscribe to us. We would feel honored that we can do that, so we can bring you back top news and entertainment that we are building up the awareness of filmmaking and transferring it from Hollywood to here in Florida, primarily Orlando, which is really big, and of course Tampa, and we've got a big market here, and a lot of people are actually moving here to Florida. And I'll tell you the reason why in just a moment. But the subscription will help us to really build out the growth of what we're trying to do on our show. And also we're working to the point where we can be 5 days a week, an hour to 2 hours each night, so that we keep people informed, because a lot of people in the entertainment industry who happen to live out here, who are also transplants, as well as local yokels, are wanting to know, well, gee, what do I do? Or how do I get in the business? Or, it's one thing as an acting coach as well, I do on the side. I've been doing that for, 35 years. Is that people always want to know the what is, the how-tos in this industry. And I'm not really, pat myself on the back, but I do pride myself on being very knowledgeable to help people understand the business side of show business, because that's very interesting. Too many acting coaches, they train you up and then they say, oh, hey, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I don't do that. And I don't charge extra for any of that, just that people call me up at 2:00 in the morning. Ian, what about this? What about that? I'm fine. I'm kind of nocturnal anyway. So I'm a fan of paying it forward and keep moving forward with that. And so with that mindset, if you're a student of mine, I roll out the red carpet for all my students. Right now, I used to have 60, and since COVID, it tapered down. And then because my productions have been kind of taking precedence, I have a selected few. I do have a few openings right now. So if you are interested, you can reach me at 727-259-8441. My rates are extremely competitive and a lot lower than what you might get, but you're going to get a lot out of what I share with you. My method is called the 541 technique, and it's a collaboration of all the directors that I took from in my heyday when I was in my 20s. I took from Lee Strasberg, Uta Hagen, Nina Foch, Stella Adler, and Sandy Meisner, the author of the method. And Sandy was, I was able to really get into what he was talking about. But what I did was, with the 541 technique that I've developed, is take a little bit of each that I've learned and then also put my spin on it, and through my experience, what I've accomplished in my goal. And you can, Google me up under Ian A. Stevens and see all my movies I've been in and the projects that I'm producing and directing right now under Cap Studios. And the last couple years, we've been very fortunate to have our films win a lot of awards. We won Cannes Film Festival for Best Honorable Mention for Best Comedy Film Short for The Challenge. And that we've shot that here in Palm Harbor.
Okay.
And it was done on a very shoestring budget. I think it was $900.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then the next one, I did a couple of other productions on the side in collaboration with other people. But then David Siracusa, who's working his way up the ladder and getting recognized for his work as a screenwriter. He's a terrific screenwriter, and he's a good actor. And he was a student of mine, and he came to me, and he had a production company that was attached to on Civil War, America Divided, but they fell by the wayside. I'm not going to get into the whole politics of it all, but he said, do you think Cap Studios could do it? And I said, well, let me take a look at it. And it was very politically motivated. It was based off the George Floyd thing that happened back in 2020. And so with that, I looked at the script and I said, yeah, let's make it happen. And I literally did 6 months worth of work in 3 weeks. And then at the end of that 3 weeks is when we started filming. We started on Halloween on Monday, the 31st in 2022. And we finished, I believe it was the 18th of November. And we had my buddy, Danny Roebuck, who's been on everything on television, more recently recognized as Grandpa Munster on the Rob Zombie's The Munsters, who's really hysterical. And he just did this last year, one of the more recognizable characters was he did 6 episodes with Angela Bassett on 911, where he played a friend of their couple, and he and his wife, and he was kind of overbearing and that kind of stuff. But he and his wife, Tammy Roebuck, who's also a really good friend of mine, have formulated their own company called Channel of Peace, which is a spin-off. It's their nonprofit that does from Magic Bean Productions, which is their collaborative effort. And Danny, they still live a little bi-coastal. He has a house in Burbank, but he's going to kind of move over here in Tampa. He's here a good chunk of the time. And then also they have their place up in, where they do a lot of their filming up in Bethlehem, Allentown, where he's from. So they get a lot of the community support up there. But Tammy had mentioned to me that they want to start doing some stuff here in Florida, to try to mention some incentives that people are kind of regrouping and getting the legislators to kind of take heed of what's going on. So with that, we did on Civil War, and Danny was there, and then Izetta Vander, who was the lead in The Evil Woman in Wild Wild West. She was Kenneth Branagh's evil woman. And then she was in Brother Where Art Thou with George Clooney.
Yes.
And she was a regular on Star Trek Next Generation and Beverly Hills 90210. She played one of the teachers. And she's done quite a bit of work and a great body of work. And so she came out and she played the lead in it. And we flew her out, and she was here for the 3 weeks that we filmed. And so much so that she loves Pinellas County. She and her husband are looking to move to Florida.
Well,
possibly.
hey, you know, I'm a realtor, so
I know. I've got. You're like one
definitely
of,
take care of
one of
people.
25 that are vying for their attention.
Oh,
but they
man.
wanted to wait until I think after the election to see what happens. So I don't know.
That's what everyone says.
I know. And they're, so I don't know. They live in West Hollywood right now, she and her husband.
Yeah.
And JJ's a great guy. So guys, if you're listening, JJ and Izetta.
Hi.
Well, actually, you know what's so funny?
You know, that is so interesting. So you saying they're trying to come up here and make some moves. Now with you and your position and your coaching, perhaps someone that's working with you might have some type of connection with them now too.
Well, yeah. Well, we, you know, with
pros and cons.
we talk about Mark Palladini, who was our guest 2 weeks ago, one of the top casting directors. He was the casting director on Mortal Kombat, and he cast Izetta as the lead evil woman in that movie.
Get out of here.
So when we were on
Get
set,
over here. Get out of here.
Okay, stop.
Get out of here.
I'm over here. I'm right there. Okay. But it was so funny because when I wanted to surprise Mark, and so because he and I we're like brothers, we stay in touch all the time.
Yeah.
And he's like the sister I never had. Kidding, I have 4 sisters. So I love you, Marcy, Cindy, Annie, and Trisha. But anyway, I called Izetta, come here. I said, what? She goes, that's surprising. You're going to call Mark Palladini? Oh my gosh, I love him. And blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, you know, I didn't know. I said, yeah, I knew the minute you were attached to Mortal Kombat, I put it due, but I wanted to wait till the moment was right. So we were filming at this restaurant in St. Pete.
Well, that was before you go to the restaurant. That was absolutely awesome that you were able to get him on our show.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, he was on it for like the whole entire show.
Yeah. We were 2 hours that night, and he was on the whole second hour. Yeah.
Now I don't want to do a spoiler alert.
What's that?
Are we doing a little tease on who's coming up next?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you in just a second.
Make sure y'all stay tuned in because we got some exciting stuff.
Yeah, we really do. And just a lovely individual who's going to be coming on in 2 weeks on the 10th here in studio with us will be Mr. ... Drum roll, please. Mr. Paul Wilson of the famous Wilson family.
Whoa, all right.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yes. He and his brother Patrick, who's been in everything. And Paul's been in the Conjuring series too. Patrick plays the lead in all the Conjuring movies. And they're all local. They're all from Clearwater area.
What do you think he's going to bring to the show?
Probably good wit and harmony. He's a handsome guy. So, I mean, you're just going to have to keep your hands to yourself.
All right. I'll sit on my hands.
I think he's married and has a couple kids.
Me too.
Neat guy. Really super neat guy. And very personable, very loving. He's always worried about other people's welfare. I mean, he's got a real compassionate heart. And he'll be a wonderful guest. I know. I was talking to him yesterday on the phone. I said, hey, he said, I'm out of town for next week. So we'll either have a recording or they may extend the 6 o'clock show next week. Okay. Well, that's still under wraps, or might do it remote. I don't know. So are you going to be in town on the 3rd?
I will be here.
Okay.
If not, then I'll do it remote. But generally, I'm always here. I'm a yes girl.
That's
I say yes.
Maybe you could do the opera yourself.
Hey.
I'll just call in again.
Hey, I'll do it.
That's we do call in. Okay, we'll tell Joe we'll just do another remote. That'd be kind of fun.
Your host here, Ian Stevens here.
Yes, of course.
I'll do both sides.
Yeah, of course. So anyway, Mark, we called Mark, and I said, I have someone wants to talk to you. And the minute she says, hi, Mark, he knew her. He went, Izetta. He hadn't talked to her in years. In years, because they did Mortal Kombat 96. So it'd been a while.
Oh, goodness.
But I'm sure they've talked since then.
Yes.
And he's probably had her come in and audition for other roles that he, is, because what Mark does is he, rather than just cast single projects, he gets package deals from the agencies, and they say, okay, Mark, we need this person, this person, this person. So he goes to like Brad Pitt or Marsha Gay Harding or whoever, and he throws them the script, and then they say, yes or no, and yes, but this is what I want, or and so Mark negotiates that out and kind of marriages those packages. And once the package is complete, then they go to the studios and they say, okay, we have this done. So that's how it's kind of, people say, well, how can I get in, to all these wonderful movies with this, that, and the other thing? Well, you're not going to get anything in recognition through your agent until after the package has been sold and they're ready to move forward to finish casting it out, and then they have a production time to film and move on and so forth, that kind of thing.
And that was going to be one of my questions for you.
What's that?
Because Ian Stevens, I know you have your classes that you do here. You said you got a few spots open. Now these classes, what was it? The 5-4-1
technique.
5-4-1 technique. That does that encompass, like, I'm not sure if it's called method acting, but learning how to act?
Well, yeah. I mean, basically with the 5,
all the way to how to do auditions.
Yeah,
like,
well, auditions a whole different. I have a session that I do called, it's based off of, Danny and I have talked about this before, but he came up with the title, The Audition is the Job. And I know other people have said the same thing. And it truly is. You can be a terrific actor, but if you can't master the audition process, you'll fall flat on your face. You won't be asked to come, because there's certain things that you got to, and I go over that. I talk about hooks, how you stand out in an audition without being stupid, And the fact is, ways of getting over your nervousness and your fears, because a lot of actors walk out like, and they beat themselves up, and you can't do that. So I have a preparatory thing that's kind of a mantra that I do in class, and then we proceed on. I call it get rid of the crudely dudleys. It means get rid of all the noise outside your brain of everything that you've done throughout the day, and helps you stay more focused in what it is you need and want to do in order to be successful, and how you make it happen. So I teach some basics. First of all, my mottos are take a risk and make a difference.
Yeah, if I always say do it scared. Do it scared.
No, yeah. You have to see the reason why people get nervous, and it's actually a useless. I call it people say, well, I want to use my nervousness for this. And then I've seen people fail when they use their nervousness for their acting, and it's not going to work. I tell people, if you can release yourself of the fact that you care about what other people think, you'll be fine.
Right.
And the other thing too is to realize that everyone who's sitting on the other side of that desk, the producers, the casting people, the advertising, if you're doing commercial advertising agency people, so on and so forth, they want you to get the job.
Yeah.
So you just got to give them something to go with, and then follow through with that. And there's a danger on the callback, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But the thing is, when you're going in for an audition, is that be personable, be willing, because what I do when I cast, because I'm also a casting director too. So if I'm casting, whether it's for someone else's project or my own, I'll want to see how engaging they are. And I'll just ask maybe 1 or 2 questions, maybe have a minute of conversation to find out exactly where they're at in their life. I mean, if I can tell, one of my gifts is the gift of discernment. And so I can tell right away if someone's BSing me, or they got an ego, or this or that, just by how they respond to me. And I know they might be nervous.
You brought me on board after meeting me after a day, so I was very impressed.
That's because I just thought you were the cutest thing since sliced bread.
Well, I hope I've not let you down.
No, you haven't. Especially since you straightened your hair. I know you think guys like you with the curly hair, but I like the straight hair a lot.
Thank you.
So fabulous.
Yeah, I was a hair model. I was a hair model.
That's right, HSN. That's right.
And traveled with Martina Cartier
and Paula Abdul. Straight up, not anybody been about me forever.
I was doing one of these before and afters for this infomercial that she was doing, and it was like a full infomercial. What was it? Forever Your Curl.
Oh geez.
Oh yeah. So
really?
I walk in. They flew us out to Buffalo. Forever Your Curl. Flew
That's
out to Buffalo, and then I'm walking in, and then I'm about to go to where I get my before shots done, where my hair is out crazy and curly, and then you just hear, "Brandy, I love you," and I turn looking, it was Paula. I was like, "Oh, hi, awesome."
She knew who you were, huh?
Oh yeah, because
don't you get blown away by that?
I know, and so I went to where I was supposed to stand. I told the camera guy, I was like, "You heard her. You heard her say she loved me, right?"
It throws me off.
I was so flattered.
I know that.
It was just her birthday. It was her birthday last week or
she's
something.
105 now.
I know she's
up there.
She's in her late 40s.
Yeah, right.
Late 40s.
Right.
Late 40s.
I know how she is. So she's been around quite a while.
Looks like a fox.
I know, she looks really great. She uses that Came that works great on the skin,
Great hair products too.
Yeah, no forensics on the skin, that's for sure. no popping blood vessels or drinking days. But yeah, no, she with that getting back to 541 is that I tell my actors a couple things is to understand where you've been, where you're at, and where you're going at any given time. If you can keep that in your head, knowing as you're reading the character, and then through the coaching of when my actors do monologues or scenes with each other, stuff like that, I let them go through it. I'm not one of these actors or one of these directors that stops him and say, "Oh, no, I got to start all over again." I want to see if they can recover within the scene, whether it's a monologue or a scene with another actor. And then if they do, then I can give them the kudos that they did what they had to do to say, okay, well, you started off slow, you built up good momentum, and you ended strong. Or you say you started off strong, in the middle of it, you kind of waned a little bit, but you ended up strong. So what you need to do is maintain yourself at whatever level. You know, it could be about anything really. It could be the way you grab a Coke bottle and say, Pepsi, the choice of a new generation. You know, it could be any of that kind of stuff. How you sell yourself, how you sell the product.
I mean, heck, could you imagine if Dustin Hoffman called cut after the taxi came up to him on that one scene?
Oh, and then Midnight Cowboy.
I'm
walking here.
Could you imagine if he didn't handle that appropriately? And his co-actor that was next to him.
John Boyd.
Yeah,
you just kind of looked at him.
Yep. And then you see Dustin Hoffman grab his arm and they just keep walking.
Because he had that limp. He made that infamous limp.
So that goes with what you said.
Yeah.
How are you going to react?
You're going to go with the flow. And that was kind of there's a lot of little tricks in the trade. When you watch a key movie, it reminded me of some time when, I forget, I think it was Sidney Pollack was directing Daryl Hannah, Deborah Winger, and Robert Redford in Legal Eagles. Okay. And that came out in, I think, when you were born, 85, 86, around there.
87. Don't 87. Age me.
Okay, sorry. 1987, the day the earth stood still. And they were having a problem with Daryl Hannah reacting to a gunshot that was from a robbery that she was near a bank. And so they would say, okay, we're going to shoot it on after we say 1, 2, 3, bang. Well, she kept anticipating. So every take, they did like 4 or 5 takes, and she would flinch before the shot came off. And so there's many of the background Hollywood stories. So what Robert Redford did was he went, I believe it was Sidney Pollack, and he went to Sidney and whispered in his ear. He said, do something. He just said, do this. So he told him what it was. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
So they do the scene and they go, okay, and come out of the cab. And action. She comes out of the cab and they go, 1, boom. She didn't, and she reacted naturally. And they said, great, that's cut. We got it.
Brilliant.
And so it took her off guard because she was anticipating it being on after 3, and they shot it on 1. So that's what Robert Redford told Pollack. Said, let's just do it on 1.
Well, that's smart. That's smart. It shows the roles of multiple people and what it takes.
Yeah, well, and he's a director. He won Best Director for Ordinary People back in 1981, which was a brilliant film with Donald Sutherland and Mary Tyler Moore was in that. It was one of her first breakouts. And also Timothy Hutton. He won Best Supporting Actor that year.
Wow.
So, one of my topics I had here was Academy Awards. And I wanted to ask you, was there at one time, even 15, 20 years ago, we used to have Academy Award parties.
Okay.
Right? No, it's not so much. People kind of feigned with Hollywood and all the transition of what's going on. And we'll get back to that in a little bit. But was there ever an Academy Award show that you saw that you remember and you were so elated that a particular actor won for a particular role? Did you have a favorite?
Oh, man. Because I remember watching them. It's almost like a thing, the way you'd sit around the TV and you'd look for the Olympics. You know, we'd all watch the Olympics. We'd all sit around and we'd watch that.
Right.
I'd see these clips on social media to where it shows what the shows looked like back then.
Right.
And you got Julia Roberts coming out. I mean, you got all Jack Nicholson. You got all these
legends.
These legends. And it just like, it felt so good seeing what I would call, it sounds horrible to say this, but our old school actors now, you know?
They are old school.
Yeah.
But was there a particular moment that you said, yes, that he won and for that role and for that, but was there anything that stood out that you remember? Was it Holly Berry and Monsters Ball or something like that?
No, it would actually have to be, and I'm not sure what award it was for, but it was Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean, his real name is,
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
What's his real name?
I don't know. I forgot.
Well, so Mr. Bean, he gets called up for an award. And so he just stands up. I really wish I could think of his name right now. I feel so foolish not thinking of Mr. Bean's name. If you know Mr. Bean's name, call us in. 727-441-3000.
And toll free at 1-866-826-1340.
Yeah. So he shows him, goes up. He gets the award, just grabs it and just drops his arm and walks right off that stage.
He didn't say anything?
Nothing at all.
That's
walked up, sloppy, grabbed the award, just walked right off.
Joe Pesci did the same thing. Joe Pesci, when he got one for Goodfellas for Best Supporting Actor, he gets up there and of course, he's 5'0". He walks up there and just puts his mouth to my goes, thank you, and then just walks right off. And everyone was like, thought he was going to say something very profound. I have to say, for me, Probably the one I was hoping for that happened, only because I knew him when he was a young kid, was Leonardo DiCaprio. He was nominated for Gilbert Grape, playing the slow brother who was mentally challenged, emotionally challenged, and he was nominated for that role. And then of course he had Titanic and all these other great movies after that. But then when he won 5-6 years ago for his movie, I forget the name of it, The Affirmed, I think it was called. I'm not sure.
The Revenant.
Thank you, The Revenant. And he did everything under the sun to really throw himself into that role. And for him, and it had been 26 years difference from the first time he was nominated to the last time. And then there was a little bit of a kinship when he was sitting with Brad Pitt, because they did Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
And so with that in mind, you see that when Brad Pitt was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and Leo was sitting two places over, and he reached over and grabbed his hand and says, "You got this, pal. You got this."
Wow.
They were lip readers for saying that's what happened and so forth. Hey, we're going to get
his name was Rowan Atkinson. Sorry, Mr. Bean. I know. But Rowan Atkinson.
He's from there, was he? Indubitably.
Brilliant.
From there.
When he makes the coffee in his mouth, like he's in a rush.
Oh, gross.
He's in a rush. And so he just pours the coffee beans in his mouth and like drinks some water.
Was this as Mr. Bean?
Mr. Bean.
That's why they call him Mr. Bean, I'm sure.
Mr.
Yeah.
Bean.
We're gonna jump ship on the entertainment for just a brief moment. I found out in talking, is he on the phone? I talked to Avery, our beloved engineer, control man.
Hi, Avery.
His grandfather, who is Rod Garcia. Now, when he mentioned to me, because I told him I was from Palo Alto, he goes, "Oh, my grandfather used to play for Stanford football." I went, "Get out." I said, "Who was that?" He goes, "Rod Garcia." "Oh, he's the one that kicked the winning field goal against Michigan, 1972 Rose Bowl." I was there. I was 14 years old.
Wow, you were there.
I was at that game.
How ironic.
And I knew a lot of because I was mentored because I was playing football at the time. And I was mentored by a lot of the guys that were on the team, especially guys that were playing linebacker, because that's what I played, or defensive back. And I'm sure he lives in Fullerton now. And so Avery's ringing him up to see if we're going to be able to talk with him here in just a moment.
That'll be exciting. I love talking to people. So feel free to call in, everyone. I love it when you get calls.
That's cool. I mean,
so
Rod
fun.
Garcia.
All right, here we go. What?
Are we on? Hey, Rod?
Yes. How you doing?
Hi, Rod.
Hi, Rod.
This is Brandy, myself, Ian Stevens. We've never, we did meet one time.
Oh, wow.
I was 14 and I was 14 or 15, and you had just finished. It was the year after, it was in 73, the year after you kicked that winning field goal for Stanford to beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl. I was at that game, by the way.
Well, I recall. I was there too.
Well, I know. I don't think you recall me sitting up at the bleachers.
It's like
it's
you
kind
were
of
there.
wild.
I was there.
Oh, I know. It's so wild.
So
But
tell me a little bit. You're from Palo Alto.
Yeah,
Did you
I grew up
to Gun High.
I went to Gun High School. Yep.
Oh, you're a Titan, I believe.
I was. I still am. I have my 50th high school reunion next year. I graduated class of 76.
You don't sound that old.
Hey, man. I'm 67, Brandy.
The radio takes off 10 years.
You sound very youthful yourself. But no, I knew a lot of the guys on the team because I was if you remember, Mike McGovern was your team manager.
Yeah.
And Mike he graduated from Gun, and he used to bring me to watch practice when you guys were there on the weekends, and with John Ralston and Jack Christensen and those guys. And John, I when in 1969, I was at the Stanford coaching camp for all summer, and John Ralston took me under his wing, and along with Ed Peasley and who's the guy that Dick Vermeil when he was at Stanford, and all those guys. But I remember I was with, I don't know if you remember Tom Riska. Do you remember Tom Riska?
No.
He was a defensive defensive lineman. He was too deep behind Roger Stillwell and Pat Donovan.
Oh, okay.
And so we were watching a rugby game that Tom was in, and you and Roger Stillwell were sitting up in these small little soccer bleachers off the field near the baseball field, and you guys were pushing a couple of back in brown bags.
Yeah.
They said, "What's Rod doing up there?" "Oh, he's with Roger. They're pumping back a few beers." I'm sure.
Guys.
What's that?
The older guys on the team tried to turn me into a little ruffian, which I was a very innocent little boy. I was. I mean, I was a nerd in high school.
Oh, well, you were when I saw you, you were quite the ruffian. But I remember
Seems like
Rich Merlot and
Oh,
and Rich, and of course he went on to play for the Saints.
San Diego, was it?
Yeah, he went to play for
Florida.
the Saints for a while, and then I think he went to San Diego at the end of his career.
Right.
Did you get drafted? I didn't follow your career after
Yeah,
Stanford. Did you
yeah.
play pro?
Yeah, I was, well, very briefly. I played in 6 preseason games with Raiders. They picked me up in the 7th round, I believe.
Uh-huh.
6th or 7th round, something like that.
Right.
Yeah. And I got, the fun part about being with the Raiders was I got to be pretty chummy with Kenny Stabler, Freddie Bolitnikoff, and
Wow.
a couple of the guys. They took me under their wing because I sensed they wanted me to beat out old Blanda.
Ah. Well,
But
that's
that
right. They
wasn't
were
the
using
guy.
him as the extra kick, as backup quarterback and kicker. That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah. See, I couldn't back up anybody.
Oh, geez. Well, the thing about, I remember going to a couple of Raiders training camps in the springtime with George Bueller, and
Okay.
and I was
Was that in Santa Rosa?
I believe so. It was across the bay, and we were. Oh no, actually, one was at Woodleaf Camp up in the Sierra Nevadas.
Oh, okay. I don't know that.
Way up there, and this was, I think, 74. Around there. It was the spring of 74. Anyway, so I was because I was defensive back for Gunn at the time. And so I was being pruned by Jack Tatum and Atkinson. So my tackling technique was hook him around the neck. Never body tackle, just stick the arm out, match him up to the guy's neck and take him down. Because it was legal back then.
Man, the only sport I ever played was summer volleyball.
Was that you? I thought that was you on the beach.
Our team lost every single game. But me and my friend were the bench warmers. So they lost every single game.
but did they like kickers in football? With Rod. Rod was like very handsome guy.
A permanent bench warmer.
Rod
the most fun.
Rod said that he was a nerd, but it seems like life worked out well. Hi, Avery, the grandson.
Yeah, we're looking at your grandson.
Grandpa.
Hey, you know what? I'll never forget the USC game at home when we got into a huge fight. Not we, my teammates did.
Right.
And one of the guys, I think it was Joe Martin, was on wooden crutches at the time.
Uh-huh.
He goes out there and starts smashing his crutches over the head of the SC player.
Oh my gosh.
Teamwork.
And of course, I was at that time, somebody had just given me a Palo Alto Times newspaper with an article.
Right.
So I'm sitting down and I'm looking at the paper and everyone else is jumping up looking at the fight. And someone took a picture of that.
Oh my goodness.
And later on, Jack Christensen had that in his office. And underneath it says, football develops character. And Jack said, no, it develops characters.
Oh,
builds characters. Nice.
I remember Jack Christensen again at the Stanford coaching camp. He was my boxing coach. And so when because we had to do all the sports. And so it was during that time that when we did boxing, he and Ed Peasley, they were the two that were assigned. And then in gymnastics, I had Dick Vermeil, who, of course, had a history of NFL and so forth. But it was amazing to see when I look back at all the coaches that came through that realm. And
it's incredible.
I got a
list is endless. About Ralston.
What's
I got
that?
a lot of stories.
What's that?
Years and years later, when John was suffering with dementia, I'm not sure if it was Alzheimer's or what.
Right.
He was at one of the Stanford games, and all the guys were aware that he was sitting up in the stand about 10 rows behind us to our right.
Mm-hmm.
So one by one, they would be walking up to John to say hello and all that.
Right.
And as I approached his girlfriend at the time, I believe his wife had died.
Uh-huh.
He had a girlfriend, a lady friend, and she told me, she says, Rod, John is not going to recognize you because he has Alzheimer's or whatever. And
right.
I said, I understand that's not a problem. And a little backstory, John never called me by my real name. My real name is Rod, or Rodrigo in Spanish. And he called me Rodney. Rodney!
Oh.
All the time, right? So as I approached him, I said, hi, Coach Ralston. Shoot.
Yeah, that, Rod, there's some things that either people hear music or
shoot.
Yeah, that, Rod, there's some things that either people hear music or they see a person or the moment where in that state of mind that triggers that memory for them. And obviously he must have held you very near and dear to his heart for him to come to surface.
He thanked me for that kick, and then he apologized to me.
Why?
For not taking me with Denver.
Oh, that's right, because he went to Denver as a coach.
Mm-hmm. He said that he had the guy that was his kicker was an older guy who
Right.
had a family, and he says he just couldn't do that to him because he knew that I was actually, said you were better than he was.
Oh my
But I
goodness.
just couldn't do that to him. So
Grandpa was
really
better
over
than
the road.
everybody.
Oh, I know.
He really was.
good.
He was kicking in a time soccer style when nobody
head on
was
with it.
kicking soccer style.
Yeah, everybody was kicking front style like Dempsey. No, Rod
He
was.
said that like he meant it. He did not say that just because you're his grandpa. Like he said that with like
No,
Passion, no.
heart.
he won't ever say this, but when he
one of the
graduated from
first.
Stanford, he
Right.
had the best field goal make percentage in all of NCAA
No.
Division One.
No,
And this
no,
include-
No, I didn't.
Well, okay, whatever.
Hey,
And
don't
this
hurt
is
me.
including
grandson,
all the
Rod.
times that he
I
had to
had-
kick to the
I
end
had
zone
the
just to
most.
get a touchback.
I had the most field goals in a season or a career. I had a lot of records, and I knew they'd be broken in a matter of minutes. But it took them a few
Hey,
years.
is that time though?
Was
Like you're your grandson's hero.
oh, too funny.
That is
Rod,
awesome.
were you there when John
We
Lynch
need
was
to
there
go
as a
do it.
punter?
No.
He might have been just after you because I know he was there. I think the last year that Pat Donovan and
No,
Roger
we called Pat
Stillwell.
Donovan there, and Roger Stillwell also.
Yeah.
Long-haired hippies, those guys were. Hippies.
Oh, I know. Well, yeah. Well,
Yes.
you know, Roger was more of the rebel, and he ended up becoming a born again Christian, and ended up coaching into Nevada till he passed away from cancer. But Pat moved back up to Montana, and he's won every accolade. And I really would like to talk to Jerry Jones because he's the only accolade Pat's missing is being in the Football Hall of Fame. He's won he's won NCAA, he's won Best Stanford, History of Stanford, a Montana Athlete of the Century, blah blah blah. Because he did basketball as well as track and field on football, so he was a three-peat performer, and just the most humble guy. I mean, you know how he was, and just a really soft-spoken guy. He got into real estate up there and built in golf courses up in Montana, up near where he's from, near Helena. And he did an interview that was on YouTube, and you could just really see the peace in his heart. And the funny thing about his story, when he graduated Stanford, when he was going into the NFL draft, his family he says, well, I think I'm going to get picked first, second round. And the family goes, just don't go to Dallas. Apparently people in Montana just couldn't stand Dallas. So they, of course, pick his name, and he goes, Dad, guess what? He said, I'm going to Dallas. And his dad went, oh, no. Of course, he had an illustrious career at Dallas. I mean, 7-time Pro Bowler and all AP Pro Bowler. And, he was there for like 9-10 years.
Do you recall another Montana boy, Pete Lazatich?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Pete and I we were very good buddies.
Oh, my gosh, Pete. Oh, my gosh. I'm thinking like him, Randy Podol.
Randy Cole and I still stay in contact. Randy's a great guy.
He played defensive back I know he went with Ralston to the Broncos. Where did he go after that?
I think that's about it. I'm not sure. Played a few years. He's a strong safety, I believe, that he technically was.
Yeah, he was very good. I loved his handlebar mustache. I never forget that as a 15-year-old going, man, he's grown up. He's got a handlebar mustache. I mean, through the eye of a 15-year-old. What are you going to say,
Yeah, Randy lives in Morro Bay right now.
Oh, does he?
He's very successful real estate developer.
Well, good for you guys. And you, your grandson told me you living in Fullerton now.
I love Fullerton.
Do you really? No, I lived just north of you before I moved here to Tarpon Springs, which is north of Clearwater and Tampa. And we're the sponge capital world. My late wife, she just passed away a few years ago. She's Greek.
I believe it's 99% of the sponges in the world.
Pretty much. We are the sponge capital.
99%.
Yeah. And, the Greeks have been here over 100 years and they've done their thing. But we lived in Rancho Cucamonga for a long time. And I loved it there. And we didn't want to move here because I had my production company and we were doing everything there. And I had the Lakers as one of my clients and the Kings. And we did all the in-house Jumbotron inside the Staples Center for a while. And then when 2009 rolled around, it just killed my business. So Angie says, well, we got the house in Florida. And I went, I don't want to move to Florida. And then she said 3 magic words to me, Rod. No state taxes. I went, boom, 3 weeks later, we were here. But it was a blessing in disguise because Tarpon Springs has one of they have
capital gains.
They have, exactly. They have a thing called the magnet programs in all the high schools here in Pinellas County and throughout Florida. And at Tarpon High School, they have music, the conforming of the arts, and then they have the veterinary program and then the culinary, which is a cordon bleu program. So my kids got involved with the performing arts, and Jeffrey played saxophone. My daughter Lacey played tuba, and they
My kids play instruments.
Yeah, they did. They loved it. They're national champions for 5 years running. Jeffrey played Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
They had the nationals up at Lucas Oil Field up in Indianapolis, and then the regionals at Atlanta. Jeffrey, by the time he graduated high school, he had 15 championships.
Wow.
Yeah, through his 4 years, and its merit program is set up that if he decided to go into music, which he's not doing, he's going to be an aerospace engineer.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a simple thing, but he's actually moving to Texas to go to UT.
He's only going to be a rocket scientist.
Exactly. He's got the brains for it. If Jeff, you're listening, you're a brain scientist. So,
Just like my story.
What's that?
Yeah. Well, by the time I graduated high school, I knew I never wanted to play football ever again.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You know, how I got into football is a long, intricate story that I'm not going to tell. But
okay.
I never went out for football. I never played football. You know, I had lived in Spain till I was 12, where I was a soccer guy. And,
okay, I was going to ask if there was other sports up your sleeve.
Soccer, yeah.
Me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was going to ask, like, other than football, like,
Well,
you know, what you grew up doing.
Well, I did. I did track and field, where for a little guy, I was quite good. I was able to high jump about 5 inches over my own height.
Wow.
All right.
And you know, in league finals in high school, I took I took first and 2/3.
Nice.
Field of it. I was
Cool.
very.
So you're
I was too small. But anyway,
you're an
regardless,
all-star.
So what happened?
But okay, so the football team was practicing my junior year, and by sheer luck, I was on the track team, and a ball came up to me and rolled at my feet, and I looked at it, and one of the football players ran over and said, "Hey, squirrel!" I was a squirrel. Hey, throw me the ball, and I grabbed it, and I'd never even thrown a football before, and I'm like, gosh, I don't want to be embarrassed. How do you throw this thing? So I kicked it to him, and it went way over his head, and he looked at me like, oh, he's mad.
This sounds like a scene off of Forrest Gump.
I did this a few times. You know, the balls would come to me, and I'd kick them back. And one of the coaches, who also was the wrestling coach, ran over to me and says, he goes, "Son, what's your name?" I said, "Garcia."
Bobby Boucher.
He says,
Water boy.
I want you to come out for the team next year. You understand?
You understand?
Wow.
I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir."
Yes, I'll
Of
be
course,
there.
I did not go. Now my junior, I did not go out for the team. I stayed away because I didn't like the football players. They were mean.
Right.
Yeah, you said you were a nerd.
They called you a squirrel.
I stayed away from those guys. And lo and behold, one day at lunchtime, I usually was in the library eating my little lunch by myself,
You were a nerd.
reading National Geographic for the pictures. Of course. And he saw me out there, and he says, all I heard his voice, "Garcia." You know, I'm like, oh, shoot. And I looked at him, and he goes, "I told you to come out for the team.
Wow.
You know, we've already played 4 games, and you haven't come out." I'm like, after school, I want you in the gym. You understand? I said, "Yes, sir." And I did. And he got me a uniform, a helmet. He told me to go home and get a jock strap, which I had never done before.
What's that for, Coach?
This sounds like my
It's a
story
breathing
of how I got into
apparatus.
radio.
So I was late coming home, and my mom said, "What took you so long to come home?"
This totally
My
sounds
son.
like the water boy. Keep going.
And I said, "Well, I'm going to be on the football team." And she laughed. She goes, "You're going to get hurt." Anyway, so I ended up on the football team. And,
Foosball's the devil.
how many seasons you played? How many years did you play at Stanford?
3.
3.
Wow.
Did you get a cooking scholarship, or did you have to academics and stuff? Or?
They had never given a scholarship to just a kicker. All the
Really?
guys had done were quarterbacks who could kick or punt, etc.
Right.
So the only thing that was left for me was an academic. So I was barely smart enough to go, but not dumb enough to realize I probably shouldn't have gone. But anyway, I was there, and things happened.
Wow, Rod.
Good for you.
That's brilliant.
And it's to know that he's part of Rose Bowl history. You know, it's like you see that if you ever Google up,
You know?
do you know that, Rod? If you Google up your name, they show the picture of you kicking the winning field goal against Michigan.
I do it on a daily basis, 50, 60 times a day.
I actually colorized that photo for Gramps. It's one of my favorites.
No, I don't do
I'm
that.
Googling,
so it's
Googling
really
you
cool.
right now, Rod Garcia. I'm
You're
Googling you.
popular. See, now all of Florida's going to say, I wish the Buccaneers had picked him up in 76 when McKay came
But
in.
they did.
They
Really?
did?
Grandpa didn't tell you that
I
they.
was.
You were in Tampa?
Yes, I was there for several weeks, and I tore my a muscle real badly.
Oh my gosh, these
And the-
photos
and
of
the-
you are
and-
brilliant.
And McKay goes, "If you obviously you weren't ready, and I don't want athletes who aren't ready to for him, so he cut me. I said, bye.
Well, could have been. What could have been. But then again, you would have been with a team that hadn't won a game in a year and a half. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise, because I know that would have killed my spirit. That's for sure. I've always wondered how Ricky Bell managed all those years after he was one of the first guys, and the Salmon brothers. They were part of that whole team where they didn't win for like 36 games.
I know what it's like not to win. I coached in college. I was head soccer coach for women's soccer.
Right.
And the team I took over had only won 3 or 4 games in the prior 10 seasons combined.
Right.
And our first year, we were 0-17, 0-18. The second year, we were 0-19. The third year, we started winning.
What year were you doing female coach soccer?
Early, like 2007 or 8, around there.
My godfather, his name's Wilton Wilkins. He was a female soccer coach.
Well, there you go.
Sure, there's plenty here, just in case you knew it.
Rod, we get to cut you off now. We got a couple things we got to cover, but thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
Yeah, listeners,
impromptu.
Feel free to Google him, Rod Garcia Football, and you're going to see some fantastic
shots
photos.
of you playing.
Fantastic.
But you were very much of a vision of my child. So I know when I die, my
last. I'm glad we met once, and maybe if I hit Florida one day,
I'd love to have you on the show.
Absolutely,
it would be fun. We'll talk about entertainment and football and how they come together, like Joe Namath. Thanks again, Rod.
Rod, thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Well, folks, thanks to Rod Garcia. He was one of my childhood heroes, doing his thing for Stanford, because they were the big influenced college football team when I grew up in Palo Alto. But just to let you know, Cap Studios, we're first of all, with me and Brandy, if you hit the subscribe, we're also looking for we have some spots for some sponsoring. So if you really want to lift the level of your business to go from one level to the next, we have over 4 to 6 million people listening to us here in the greater Tampa area, and over 40 million on YouTube, on ISEE Radio, which gets aired every Thursday night from 6 to 7. So you get a lot of exposure. And I did talk to Lola, who is the queen of Tan Talk Radio, which we're at CBS Radio here in Clearwater, and that we can do some extra fill-in times for promotions for you. So it wouldn't be just during our show. So we'd love to see what we can do. Give us a call. You can call me at either 727-259-8441 or leave a message with Lola or Avery at 727-441-3000. We'd love to have you part of our team and sponsor us out the yazoo. And also, we're looking for corporate sponsorships and product placements for our movies that have done very well for us. We won, as I mentioned before, Cannes Film Festival with Uncivil War that we did. We've won over 15 different awards in various categories. And we've done quite well, especially the Touchstone, which is run by Disney in Miami. And we're looking to do some great things with Velvet Hammer, which is our faith-based Western that's in final print for distribution as a TV pilot. It's a cross between Little House on the Prairie and Touched by an Angel. So we're excited about that.
Yes.
And our big one that's coming up in October called Nocturnal Spirito. And if you look under Nocturnal Spirito, on IMDb, you'll see the award-winning cast that we have going. So we are raising capital for that. So if you ever wanted to invest in films and movies that you can do at Cap Studios, is the way to go. And there's a great incentive programs that are set up through the Section 181 that was out of DC that helps everyone. Basically, it's a win-win situation all around. But thanks again. Thanks to Brandy here at WTAN at 1360 on ISEE Radio. We want to thank you guys so much. We love you all. We may still do it remotely from me in California and Brandy being here at the console. We'll keep you posted, and we'll be posting live on Facebook as well. Thank you, Avery. You rock. Great shout out to Mr. Garcia and everyone else. And we will talk to you next week.
Yes,
and God bless
see you
everyone.
online till then.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Fetch another round. She serves them whiskey and wine. They say, Brandy, you're a fine girl. What a good wife you would be. Such a fine. Your eyes can steal a say.